For most of the last 2 decades, the economy ran on software. Low interest rates, globalized supply chains, just-in-time logistics, and services growth. But the next decade looks different. It's starting to look like a rebuild cycle. A cycle driven by physical infrastructure again. Grids, chips, ports, data centers, rail, water systems, defense production, energy storage. Not because governments suddenly love construction, because the system hit constraints. And when a system hits constraints, the only way forward is to build. This is why infrastructure is becoming the new boom, not a single project. A multi-year capital expenditure cycle that touches multiple sectors at once. And when capex cycles return, they change growth, jobs, and geopolitics. The rebuild story starts with one basic reality. Modern economies depend on physical systems that were built for an older era. Many grids were built for stable demand, not electrification. Ports and logistics systems were built for maximum efficiency, not maximum resilience. Manufacturing systems were built around global cost optimization, not national security. And digital demand, especially compute, is now rising faster than the physical layer that supports it. So you get bottlenecks, and bottlenecks force spending. The first driver of the rebuild is the power system. Electrification is increasing load. EV adoption increases demand. Heat pumps and industrial electrification increase demand. Data centers and AI increase demand. Even if each category grows at different speeds, the direction is upward. But grids don't expand instantly. Transmission takes years. Permitting takes years. Transformers and equipment take time. Labor and engineering capacity takes time. So the rebuild is partly an electricity story. New generation, new transmission, and new storage. And because electricity is foundational, grid build-out becomes a national competitiveness issue. The second driver is the chip and hardware build-out. The chip war taught governments that semiconductors are strategic. So countries are subsidizing domestic manufacturing. Not because it's cheaper, because it reduces dependency and increases control. But building fabs is expensive and slow. And fabs require an ecosystem, tools, chemicals, materials, water, and skilled labor. So a chip rebuild spills into other infrastructure. Water and power infrastructure near fabs, logistics for equipment, training pipelines for technicians. A build cycle creates more build needs. The third driver is supply chain resilience. The old supply chain model optimized for cost and speed. The new model optimizes for redundancy and security. That means more warehouses, more inventory, more regional production, more friendshoring, more investment in ports, rail, and logistics capacity. Because if companies can't trust the route, they build alternative routes. And alternative routes require physical build-out. This is why the rebuild cycle is broader than roads and bridges. It includes industrial platforms and logistics systems. The fourth driver is the AI data center build-out. AI is not just code, it's compute. Compute requires data centers. Data centers require power, cooling, land, and network infrastructure. So AI creates a physical boom. Energy infrastructure, fiber, cooling systems, and construction. This is why you're seeing a new competition for power capacity. In the rebuild era, power access becomes a gating factor for economic growth. If you can't connect a new load, you can't scale new systems. The fifth driver is defense and security. Many governments are rebuilding defense capacity, not only weapons, but supply chains, manufacturing capacity, and strategic stockpiles. This creates demand for industrial production, specialized materials, and logistical systems. It's another reason physical investment is rising. Now, what makes this rebuild cycle different from previous infrastructure booms? Two things. First, it's multi-layered. It's not one sector. It's grids, compute, logistics, industry, and security moving at the same time. Second, it's happening under constraint. High rates can make financing harder. Labor shortages can slow projects. Permitting and politics can delay execution. Equipment bottlenecks can slow timelines. So the rebuild era is not frictionless. It's not easy growth. It's heavy, complex growth. And that complexity creates winners and losers. So who wins in the rebuild era? The first winners are industries that supply the rebuild. Grid equipment manufacturers. Transformers and switchgear. Construction and engineering. Industrial automation. Energy storage. Specialized materials. Logistics and infrastructure services. The second winners are regions that can build quickly. Places with faster permitting, clear zoning, available land, grid capacity, and coordinated policy. In the rebuild era, speed is a competitive advantage. The third winners are companies that can secure inputs, critical minerals, energy supply, skilled labor. Because bottlenecks are the enemy of a build cycle. Now, who loses? Regions with congested infrastructure and slow approvals can fall behind. Companies that rely on cheap, stable global logistics can face higher costs. And consumers can feel higher prices if bottlenecks persist. Because rebuild cycles can be inflationary in the short run. You're buying physical stuff. You're competing for labor. You're competing for equipment. And you're building under constraint. But over time, the rebuild cycle can be growth positive, because new capacity reduces bottlenecks. Better grids reduce energy constraints. Better logistics reduce friction. More domestic production reduces vulnerability. So the rebuild era is a transition, short-run friction, long-run resilience. Now, what signals tell you this infrastructure boom is real and not just political talk? First, grid build-out and interconnection expansion. Second, data center construction and power contracting. Third, major capex commitments from governments and corporations. Fourth, equipment bottlenecks easing, transformers, cables, switchgear. And fifth, permitting reform. When rules change to accelerate building, the boom becomes durable. Here's the takeaway. The rebuild era is not about one project. It's about a new baseline where physical capacity becomes central again. Economies are discovering that you can't scale modern systems without building the physical layer. So infrastructure becomes the new boom because constraints force investment. And when investment becomes structural, it becomes a cycle. That cycle can last years. And it will shape where growth happens, where jobs form, and which regions win. The software era didn't end, but the rebuild era is now running alongside it. And in the next decade, the economy will be shaped by those who can build.